Good morning, children. I hope you are all very well. Okay. Welcome to social science classes. In the last class, we have learned about migration and urbanization. What is the heading? Migration and urbanization. In this lesson, we have learned about what is migration and the factors of migration, the causes of migration. What is migration? The factors of migration. The factors of migration, favorable factors and unfavorable factors, are pull factors and push factors. You learned, isn't it? The cause and the causes of migration. What are the causes of migration? That is social causes, economic causes, demographic causes, political causes, and natural causes. We learned about the 5 causes of migration. That is the natural causes, economic causes, socio-cultural causes, demographic causes, and political causes, isn't it? We learned about the factors and causes of migration. Okay, today we are going to learn about the type of migration. Today we are going to learn about the type of migration and consequences of migration. Type of migration and consequences of migration, that are based on the movement. That migration can be classified into 3 types. Migration can be classified into 3 types. That here, that based on the movement associated with the administrative limit. Based on the administrative limit, the movement of migration or the migration is classified. This is first one, based on the movement associated with the administrative limit. Here I taught about that movement from urban to urban, rural to rural, and urban to rural. Then like that, isn't it? We studied in the last class. Okay, based on the movement associated with the administrative limit. Okay, here that movement of the migration can be classified into 4 types. That is first one, rural to urban. Second, urban to urban. Third one, rural to rural migration. Fourth one, urban to rural migration. That in the last class I learned. Then the internal migration and international migration also. That is come under the based on the movement associated with the administrative limit. Okay. Then second, based on the willingness of the migrate for migration. Based on the willingness of the migrants for migration. Willingness, all of you know, isn't it? Willing. That migrants here means the person who is moving from one place to another place. It is called migrants for. So here based on the willingness of the migrants for migration. So it is divided into 2. First one is the voluntary migration. Second one is involuntary migration. Involuntary or forced migration. Based on the willingness, that migration can be classified into 2: voluntary migration and involuntary or forced migration, isn't it? Voluntary migration means if the migration takes place on person's free will, initiative and desire to live in a better places, isn't it? That means if one person, he is willing to move one place to another places, it is free will and desire, isn't it? So that type of migration is called voluntarily migration. Okay, what is voluntary migration? If the migration take place on person's free will and desire to live in a better place, it is said to be voluntary migration, isn't it? So involuntary migration, involuntary or forced migration. What is the involuntary? It is the against the will of the migrant, against the will of the migrants or the person or the people. Okay, if the migration takes place against the will of migrants, the migration is termed as involuntary migration, isn't it? This is also called the push factors. They don't like to move on migrate, okay, but some conditions it forced or push them to move one place to another. That push factors like war may force the people to immigrate from a place is of this type. Okay, it is then can you see another some causes except war, earthquake, volcanic eruption, isn't it? So these are the push factors. Okay, to force the migrant to move to one place to another. That is involuntary migration or forced migration or push factor, isn't it? So the type of migration, first one based on the movement associated with the administrative limit, okay, that then second based on the willingness of the migrants for migration. It is divided into two: voluntary migration and involuntary. Voluntary means this is the willingness of the person, isn't it? So another involuntary meanings, it is against the willingness of the person. Okay, then third one. Okay, what is the third one? Based on the duration of a stay of migrants in the place of destination. Based on the duration of stay. Duration meaning the time or the year period. Okay, based on the period of stay or the duration of stay, how many days, how many months, or how many years one person is staying in a one place. So according to the duration of the stay or the settlement, the migration take place. Okay, that is the based on the duration of stay. That is divided into short-term migration, long-term migration, and seasonal migration. Based on the duration of stay, the migration can be three types. They are the short-term migration, long-term migration, and seasonal migration. Totally, the three types of migration, isn't it? So that first one is the based on the administrative limit. Second is based on the willingness of migrants. Third one based on the duration of stay of migrants. Okay, so here it is divided into three. Again, the based on the duration of stay, the divided into three: short-term migration, long-term migration, seasonal migration. From there we can know what is a short-term migration, what is the long-term migration, isn't it? So here short-term migration. In this kind of migration, the migrants stay outside only for a short duration before returning to the place of origin. Origin means the leaving his own place. Okay, the duration may be from a few days to few months. If one person stayed in one another place few days or few months, that is called short term migration. So in this kind of migration, the migrants stayed outside only for a few days or few months, not year. Okay, few days or few months, that is called short term migration. Okay, then second one is the long term migration. Okay, that is short term migration. Example, tourists, isn't it? Mostly the tourist people they only stayed short time. Then long-term migration, it is a kind of migration in which the migrants stay outside at least for a few years. If one person or one migrant stayed outside for few years, that type of migration is termed as the long-term migration. So long-term migration means that at least stay for a few years. Okay. third one, seasonal migration. Okay, seasonal migration. In this type of migration, usually a group of people migrates from their native places during a particular seasons and return after the end of that season. One particular season, the people move in group, isn't it, or family, like that. They move from one place to another. That type of movement is called seasonal migration. Okay, here they are giving for example people migrating to hill station during summer, isn't it? During the summer season, many of the rich people, isn't it, they move to the hill station because there the climate is very cool, so that during the summer season the people move to hill station. That type of movement is called seasonal migration. After summer season, they return to their own places, isn't it? Then second example is the transhumance. Transhumance is another example of seasonal migration. Transhumance, what is a transhumance? That means the movement of people, mostly that farmers or shepherds, they move with their cattle. That is called transhumance. What is the meaning of transhumance? That is the farmers or the shepherds, they move with their cattle from one place to another places according to the season. Okay, that type of migration is called seasonal migration. So seasonal migration means that one group of people, they move from one place to another place during the season. Okay, mostly that is summer seasons people move to the hill station, isn't it? Then transhumance meanings that shepherds, they move with their cattle. Okay, that is called seasonal migration. Okay, so next we want to learn about the consequences of migration. What is the next? Consequences of migration. Okay, what is the meaning of consequences? Consequences of migration. Consequences meanings problems. What is the meaning of consequences of migration? Problem of migration. If the people moving from one place to another place and stay there, isn't it? That is called migration. So according to the movement, we faced some problems. That problems are called consequences of migration. Consequences meanings problem. Okay, so now we are learn about the consequences of migration. That migration affect both the area of origin of migration and the area of destination. The following are the major consequences of migration, isn't it? Here that origin of migration or the source of migration, the migration, the person who is living one area, that area is called origin. But that one he moved and stay the place where he go and settle, that is called destination. Okay, destination means the place where the person go, that is destination. That origin means the place where she is already living. Okay, source of migration or the origin of migration. Okay, according, so that what are the problems of migration or the consequences of migration? Here that is demographic consequences. Already I told demographic consequences. Demographic meanings population. Okay, population consequences are the population problems, then economic problems, social problems, and environmental problems. So here we are going to learn about four type of problems or four type of consequences. What are the four type of consequences? Demographic consequences. Demographic meanings population problem. Second, economic consequences, money, isn't it? That problem. Third one, social consequences, social problems. Then fourth one, environmental consequences, environmental consequences. Okay, so what are the four type of consequences or four method of consequences of migration, that is demographic consequences, economic consequences, social consequences, and environmental consequences. Now we can see one by one. Okay, first demographic consequences. Okay, already I told demographic meanings that population, isn't it? It changes age and sex composition of population because of the age and sex, isn't it? So migration of female after their marriage lead to the decline in sex ratio in the source region and increase the sex ratio in the region of destination, isn't it? So after the marriage, the female, isn't it, they want to go to their partner's place, isn't it? So migration females after their marriage, it leads to the decline means reduce the number of the people, that is sex ratio in the source region means origin place means the living place, the ladies in it, the female living place, it is reduce the population and it increase the sex ratio in the region of the destination meanings the place where she go, that it increase the population, but the origin places or the source regions, it reduce the number of the population, isn't it? That is the best example for democracy consequences. Okay, next, male workers in search of job, isn't it? That mostly nowadays male and female both are moving, isn't it? So mostly that male workers in search of job, that time decrease the independence population of the source region, which increase the dependency ratio, isn't it? But it increase where that person, the male is stayed there, it increased. Okay, so this is the population problem or demographic consequences. Okay, was here best example, male workers move from one place to another, then female after the marriage. Okay, then second, social consequences. What is the meaning social? Society, isn't it? The migration of people from different regions towards an urban area leads to the formation of plural society. What is the meaning of plural? More than one society. Okay, you know that English you guys studied singular and plural. Singular meanings one, plural meanings many, isn't it? So it also lead to the formation of plural society, many society. So social consequences, the migration of people from different regions towards an urban area. Okay, different regions from the mostly that village regions to urban city areas lead to the formation of plural society. Plural meanings many societies, it is causes for the formation of many societies. It helps the people to come out of narrow mindedness and people became generous. Okay, then third one, economic consequences. Economics means money matter, isn't it? For getting good salary to earn more money, people migrated from one place to another places, isn't it? That which place are mostly that village to city only, isn't it? So this economic consequences, okay, or economic problem, it is called as the brain drain. Brain drain is a problem of migration. This is also one type of problem. Here, brain drain. What is the meaning of brain drain? Brain drains refer to the migration of which is skilled people. Skilled, those who are very skilled, educated people, isn't it? So, from economically, they moved from one place to another places in search of good job. Okay, so what it did, it economically backward countries move to developed countries in search of better opportunities. From the backward countries, isn't it, poor countries, people move to the which better opportunities for to they moved from the backward countries to developed countries. So well developed countries, isn't it now? So that is called brain train. Okay. So here it is the countries, the backward countries again moving to the backward, isn't it? Developed countries move to the development, isn't it? English. So here this is called an backwash effect. Backwash effect. What is backwash effect? What is backwash effect? That means that economically backward countries people move to the developed countries in search of better opportunities. Okay, so this lead to the backwardness in source regions. So this is called backwash effect. Okay, very very important, backwash effect. Then third one, environmental consequences. First, demographic consequences. Second, economic consequences. Third, environmental consequences. All of you know about environment meaning, isn't it? That naturally, isn't it? Here that large scale movement of people from rural to urban area. Large scale of people moved from rural to urban area causes overcrowding in cities. Okay, if that people move from the village to city, isn't it? That increase the population of the city, isn't it? So it overcrowding, it create the overcrowding. Large scale movement of people from rural to urban area causes the overcrowding in cities. What is the result? It leads to the pollution of air, isn't it? It leads to the pollution of air, water and soil, scarcity of drinking water. Okay, then lack of space for housing. These are the problems, that environmental problems people face, because mostly from the village area to cities only people, it leads to the pollution. It leads to the pollution of air, water and soil. Then also scarcity of drinking water. Okay, then it will create the poor drainage. Okay, these are the common environmental problems. Okay, so what are the consequences of migration? Demographic consequences, economic consequences and environmental consequences. Okay, now we learn about urbanization. What is the meaning of urbanization? Urbanization refers to the process in which there is an increase in the proportion of population living in towns and cities. So the increasement of the population in the town and cities, isn't it? That is called urbanization. That means the increase of population, the increase in the part of population living in town and cities, that is called urbanization. What is urbanization? That urbanization refers to the process in which there is an increase in the proportion of population living in towns and cities. So the increase of population in town and cities, that is called urbanization. Okay, now next, causes of urbanization. Causes of urbanization. Okay, that here urbanization is driven by three factors: natural population growth, natural to urban migration and the reclassification of natural areas into urban areas. Okay, present day urbanization includes changing in the demographics, land cover, economic process and characteristics of geographic area. These are the causes why that increase the population in towns and cities, that is urbanization. So causes, what are the causes of urbanization? That is the three factors, that is the natural population growth, naturally that increasement of the population or the birth rate increase of birth rate, that population growth. Then next, migration to rural to urban, isn't it? The rural to urban migration and the reclassification of rural areas into urban areas. That means they reclassified the rural into urban areas. So these are the three causes for the urbanization. Okay. Okay. In the next class, we will learn about the origin and growth of world urbanization. Origin and growth of world urbanization we can learn in the next class. Okay. Thank you.